What we do here is go back. You
are now listening to the Sports Lit Podcast with Shaheem Sutherland. Hey everyone, I'm Shaheem Sutherland, and if you're a first-time listener, welcome to the Sports Lit Podcast. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. Recently, I linked up with Kenneth Stephens, former college football player and now co-founder and COO of the sports media outlet New Era Prep. During the interview, Stephens and I spoke about his transition from playing football to having a career after football, how he balances being a teacher and running an organization, his period of homelessness, and how he handled being under-recruited his senior year in high school while coping with the death of his mother. But before the interview begins, I would like to thank Kenny for doing the interview, especially after working a 3-hour baseball game. Now, it's time for you guys to sit back, relax, and I hope you guys enjoy the interview. What's your name?
Kenneth Stephens.
What's your occupation?
I'm a co-founder of New Era Prep and COO.
How did New Era Prep come into existence?
New Era Prep came into existence about a year ago. We were formerly known as Prep Builders, but now it's New Era Prep. Me and my best friend formed this organization, like I said, almost a year ago, and that's how we came into existence.
I know New Era Prep covers high school and college sports. Can you go further into depth about what you guys do?
All right, so we cover a range of sports dealing with high school and college. A primary sport is football, basketball, that's some of the high sports, but we do cover all sports. We don't just limit it to those sports because they are the most popular. But as far as going into detail about what we do exactly at these games, mostly videography, photography, and journalism. So we report on the game, stats, highlights, and, just updates of the overall game. And we may highlight certain players if, they have a great story of something we feel like the community needs to know about pertaining to a player besides their athletic abilities.
What is New Era Prep's primary goal?
New Era Prep's primary goal is to put our three mainstays together, and that's primarily our sports, education, and community service. So sports, we have our athletes, we have our sports, we go out, videography, things of that nature. Education, we want to have workshops where we educate kids on various topics, maybe financial literacy, just maybe reading and mentoring, just different things like that. But with community service, we want to bring our kids in the community into our business and who are interested in photography, videography, and things of that nature. And, we don't just target student athletes. We also target students that are interested in things that we deal with.
What made you and your team want to create an organization to cover sports?
We wanted to create this organization because our main goal is something that we live by when we're out in the field. We want to make sure that we cover these student athletes and students how we wish we were covered in high school. It's not that, media outlets did a bad job with it, but we feel like we could take it a step further, and we're a little closer to age with the student population that we have right now. So we just made it a point to, be out here, and give these kids what they need and, maybe get them to the next level, get the students to the next level, get this student story out there. We got kids like in Boca who got 5.0 GPA and nobody knows about those kids. And that's a student, that's just a student. Not talking about a student athlete, we're talking about just a student. So, we want to have both sides of the spectrum and not just our student athletes. We felt like we were the right people, to do that and mesh those two together.
Who are the founders of New Era Prep?
My best friend, like my brother, Zavon Christopher, he's our CEO and co-founder. He's like the head of this whole thing. And myself, Kenneth Stephens, as I stated before, and I'm the COO. We both, came up with the concept, and we got a great team behind us with Nigel Tobias and Keith Ford. Those guys are our anchors right there. They're a little bit older than us, but they have the wisdom. And they're 100% behind us, and we trust those guys with our life. So we felt like, us four together, it was like the dream team.
How'd you guys come up with the name New Era Prep?
Actually, Zavon, he came up with the name. It was like brainstorming because we were working with Prep Builders before. That was another company. But then we were like, we can't have anything kind of close to that. And, we felt like I mentioned before, that we wanted to revamp sports and, do some real coverage. And get really close with the students and, give them, more of what they're looking for on every social media platform and, websites and things of that nature. So we were like, what? we're going to do it like nobody else is doing it, so we might as well call ourselves New Era. It's a new era. We here. The time is now. We're going to do it. The favorite part about working for myself is probably, being my own boss, I guess. Sometimes I'm just a natural leader. Some people tell me that. A lot of people lean on me naturally, and I didn't, hone in on that until like a little bit into my adult life, that people naturally came to me because they seen leadership abilities in me. But I tapped more into it, once I got into college, and I realized that people followed me because more of what I'm doing and not what I'm saying. So it's just like, okay, I could do this. We could start a business. I could be the head of that, and I know people will trust in me just because of who I am and the things that they seen from me in the past. I don't do a whole lot of lip service. I just like to do the work and celebrate the work. Because you always, I feel like that's one of the main parts. You have to celebrate and enjoy every win that you have, even the smallest ones.
How do you guys cover games?
And covering games, we mostly use, maybe a camera, or we use our phones for these games because we get stuff out really, really quick, and use social media. So a lot of kids are on like Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. So with our phones, it's a little bit quicker, but we also have video cameras that we use. We use mics. We have pin-on mics. It's just, we have various ways of how we cover games, but we usually do highlights and interviews. That's what we're most known for, is some of our interviews. Some have been really funny, some have been heartfelt, with players, sharing their personal stories, and, people in the outside world getting to know these people outside of the athletic realm, and some of these students, outside of the classroom. So that's probably our, biggest piece in covering sports and academics.
What do you guys do in regards to academics?
In regards to academics right now, we're not fully into it, but as far, we just highlight students that are doing well academically. So we have like a student of the month or a student athlete of the month that we started last month, and that's what we're doing, to celebrate their success in the classroom. And we'll do an interview and write up a nice story about them so that the community knows about this person, because they may not know who this person is or what they're doing, although they are here in our backyard.
How you guys helping out in the community?
As far as the community, we have we pretty much go to games in Palm Beach County. That's sort of like our community service. We don't charge. We're a nonprofit organization, so all these games that we go to in Palm Beach County, no one is being charged. We're going there to cover the kids, get the word out. But also, far as outside of athletics, we do have certain kids or student athletes that we deal with on a one-on-one basis, that we talk to if they're having a hard time, because some of them confide in us because the age gap isn't that large, and they see what we're doing and they're inspired by us. So if a kid is having a hard time, they feel like they can't talk to anyone. Some of them literally, they come to us because we're those same kids that they were in the community. With me being from Boynton Beach, my friend here, he being from Delray, we're all in this Palm Beach County area. We know what these kids going through, because a lot of these kids are homeless. A lot of kids, they don't eat on the weekends if they're not in school, and a lot of people don't know that. And a lot of these kids work too, and some will be at work till 12 o'clock, then have to get up and go to school, and it's rough.
What does New Era Prep have planned for the future?
For the future, New Era Prep, we plan to take over. I'm kidding, but we do see ourselves being bigger than we are right now. This is just the beginning. It's only a year in, but we have huge ideas coming, and huge things that we plan to change within the county, as far as a media aspect and also a community aspect, because we want to touch everything. We don't just want to be on sports. Sports will take care of itself. Education will take care of itself. The students are there. The student athletes will always be there. But who can you have there to push it, make it better? Who can evolve it, and just add that little piece to it? And I feel like us doing that, that's our future, is to, hone in on what's not being done and what needs to be improved in Palm Beach County, and that matter, the whole South Florida, and eventually the United States.
I understand besides working under New Era Prep, you hold another occupation. Can you tell me what that occupation is?
Well, that occupation, I am a teacher at Santa Lucia's High School. I teach world history and African American history. This is my first year teaching, actually. I got hired in 2017 by Tamika Robinson, who was our principal. It's been great since I've been working here.
What aspect of teaching do you enjoy the most?
The aspect of teaching I probably enjoy the most is when I see a kid's light bulb go off in the head. If we have a certain question, or we have a higher level questions that we're asking, and they really have to hone in on their cognitive skills, it's really rewarding when they're able to answer that question and think critically about it. So I really like that aspect, and mentoring students also, because some of the things that they're going through, I have been through. So it's nice for them to hear my story and we can relate. And they trust in me and they believe in me. And, some kids have a bad day. They literally just come talk to me and, I can lift their spirit just so they can make it through the day.
So where did you get your degree to become a teacher?
I don't have a degree for teaching, but my degrees that I do have, I have an AA from Bethel University, which is in Tennessee. And then I got my bachelor's degree in psychology from FAU and my master's in educational leadership from FAU.
So while at FAU, I know you were a collegiate athlete. Can you describe how your time was at FAU?
Well, with FAU, when I first got there, I got there probably by the grace of God. So I was blessed to be there. I tried out for the football team the first time. I didn't make it. I was probably too out of shape at that time, and I probably wasn't taking it serious enough. But came in the spring, I tried out for the team again. I made the team, and ever since then, it was like smooth sailing. I really enjoyed the process of being on a Division I football team. I saw a lot of things that I probably wouldn't have seen if I didn't transfer over to FAU, and made some tremendous networking opportunities while at FAU, and got my master's degree for almost free at FAU. So, it was a great experience. I made some great people and connections. I can't regret anything about that experience being at FAU.
Can you talk about the walk-on process at FAU?
The walk-on process at FAU was, you're going to work hard. That's what it was. You're basically at the bottom of the barrel, and you got to, work your way to the top, which I eventually did. Although I didn't get much playing time, I was out there, and people respected me for who I was and the person I was on the field and off the field, because they knew I took care of business on both ends of the spectrum. And although I didn't get much playing time, it's not too many people that could say that they had two NFL players in front of them, which I did. Brandon Bryant and Trey, he's with the Browns right now, and Brandon, he's with the Jets.
I remember you said that you went to Bethel and then you went to FAU. What made you decide to transfer to FAU?
Well, coming from Bethel, I felt like it was just my time, to go there, and I made sure I got my AA degree before I left. There were some coaches changes and, some things, I just got a feeling that it was time for a change for me, as a person and as an athlete. So I made that move, and I went to FAU literally on a leap of faith, at a last minute type of thing. I got into FAU 2 weeks before school, and I was able to get registered and get me a full-time schedule in, before school started. So it all worked out.
Can you describe how your time was at Bethel?
My time at Bethel, those 2 years I met some amazing people. I made some amazing connections. Coach Clifton Barnett, he was the biggest mentor I had, and he was my D-line coach and our team chaplain. He was a great guy, and I will never forget that, man, and some of the things that he told me. That was great. And my D-line that was there, man, we were amazing, and we worked as a unit, and I really love those guys. Some of those guys I'll never forget. Some of us didn't have the best relationship, but, when we hit that field, all that stuff was out the window, and I just had a great experience. It was just, time for me to go, as I was there.
Before you attended Bethel at Tennessee, I read that you received 3 football scholarship offers. Can you tell me what were the names of these schools?
Benedictine College in Kansas. We had Miles College in Alabama, which is a Division II, and then Bethel University, which was on NAIA up in Tennessee.
What made you choose Bethel over the other 2 schools?
Well, Benedictine, it was more about a financial, situation why I didn't go there, but I went on a visit and it was beautiful. I loved the campus. With the Division II school, Miles College, it was more because they came and got me late in the game, and I didn't feel comfortable making a hasty or fast decision about going to Division II college because it was so late in the game, and I was just like, kind of put that off. I was like, I probably don't want to go anywhere that I'm being rushed into a situation. And Bethel, they pretty much courted me the best, to be honest, and gave me the best deal. I felt like, and the coaches were personable, and they gave me the opportunity, to work hard and get where I wanted to be. And they told me it was all fair. And I really appreciate that because that's what I'm all about.
Let's talk about the recruiting article that you wrote about, which is about your recruiting process.
That article was basically give hope to the kids that didn't have offers at the time. With signing day looming, a lot of kids, they get down on themselves because they see their friends, oh, he got this offer, he got this offer. How does he get 56 offers? I can't even get one. That's how people are thinking, especially if they're like team captains. They have high GPA, high SAT, high ACT, and these coaches aren't checking for them, and they have a decent highlight tape. Some kids are down on themselves, confidence low, and you're done playing sports. You can't put any more film out there. And I just wanted to give them that story so some of the students could relate to me and truly understand the process, and they aren't the only ones that went through that. And I felt like I touched a lot of kids with that story because, it was a piece of me going into that story.
When you posted that article online, how did you feel knowing that your story was public for everyone to see?
I honestly felt a little nervous at first because I'm not a person to kind of share stuff out in public, especially personal stuff that's behind the scenes, because I don't ever want to feel like I'm putting a certain person or organization on the spot, because I have dealt with a lot in my life. But after a while, I'm like, what, it's a story, it has to be heard, it's all factual, so let's put it out there.
How were you feeling in 2011 during the recruiting process?
During the recruiting process in 2011, I received my first offer in 2010, like mid-season, so I was happy about that. Going into 2011, I was a little stressed, but I was focused on weightlifting at the time because I was going into the state championship, so I just wanted to focus on that, and I put the recruiting process kind of on hold. But if school hit me up, obviously I contacted them back. I went on a couple trips, but I didn't want to take too much time away from my second sport, which was weightlifting.
I'm aware that your mother passed away during your senior year as well, which was your recruiting process. Can you describe to me this time during your life?
During that time in my life, it was she passed away December 29th, 2010. So it was literally like right in the middle of my senior year while we were on Christmas break. So during that time in my life, it was pretty hard because it felt like, it's never a right time for somebody to die. But at a time like that, when I just turned 18 and, I'm just coming into my own and, becoming a man sort of, it was tough. But, stuff like that, it made me who I am today. And it was some of the toughest adversity that I ever had to face. But, from that moment on, I knew that I wouldn't face anything tougher because I felt like that was the worst thing possible that could have ever happened to me, because I always thought about, like, what is the worst thing that could happen, what could push me to the edge, of kind of, getting out of my element. And, that was probably the thing that got me closest to that. But, you bounce back, you fight the adversity, had to get mental toughness, I had to get counseling and things of that nature to get me through that. So with all that stuff together, and the high school I went to, Boynton High, they all helped me, and the staff and administrators, they all gathered around me and made sure I had the proper services to get through that time. Although I didn't want counseling because I felt like it wouldn't help. It truly helped, and I'm so grateful for Boynton High during that time period that they literally forced me to go to counseling, and that helped me out tremendously in my mental state and me to push through and do everything that I'm doing now.
Reflecting on the athletic journey you had to take, what are some of the lessons that you learned along the way?
All right, reflecting on the athletic journey, some of the lessons that I learned along the way, where you got to work hard, you got to fight adversity, and you got to be able to, push through, man, during the hardest times, and you have to be disciplined. Discipline is probably one of the biggest things that'll carry you through life, because anything that you do, if you're an athlete or you're a scholar, things that you do in your academic life or your athletic life, they carry over into your personal life, whether you know it or not. So if you're a slacker, you're going to slack when you get that job. If you're a slacker on the field, it will roll over into your personal life. So I made sure I was disciplined in just about every aspect of my life as possible. Although I was young, I made sure I was disciplined. I didn't get too far away from my foundation.
You've overcome a lot of obstacles in your life. Earlier this year, you created a post on Facebook revealing to the public that you were homeless for a couple of weeks. Can you tell me about this period in your life?
During that period in my life, I was kind of going through a lot, working in my new career job. I was looking for places, apartments, because, where I was at, my time had expired. I was homeless for about 2 weeks, so it was a tough time, mentally, because, I'm sitting there like, how I get into this situation, where I'm like, down bad, and I can't pretty much do anything about it. It was more not a financial issue, it was a timing issue more than financial. That was the problem with me, that I was so frustrated, because it wasn't the money, it was more the timing that things happened. So that was the biggest issue that I had during that time period. But I got through it, mentally, like I said, with my mother passing, that was the toughest thing I ever been through. So, I just always revert back to that. And, anything that's even close to it, I'm like, hey, you got through that, you can get through this.
What did you take from that period in your life?
During my homelessness period in my life, I got from that, just things are going to happen. Things are going to come out of blue. You just got to deal with it, I just looked at it like that, and I just make sure it didn't break me. That was my biggest thing. Don't let this break you. You will get through this. Just have your faith, and don't lose your foundation once again. Stay disciplined for what you know. Don't do anything out of the norm, that you wouldn't do. And, everything takes time and patience. You always got to revert back to your patience and your attitude about the things that you do. And that's what I felt like I did during this time period, because it was quick, but I bounced back quicker. So I was happy about that, and I'm here now.
Like I said before, you've overcome a lot of obstacles in your life. What advice would you give to others who are dealing with obstacles and are trying to persevere?
With others that are facing tough obstacles and trying to persevere, I'll tell them, keep your head up, keep fighting, don't give up, fight the adversity. Things could be worse, and somebody is in a worse situation than you. So don't ever give up or feel like you in this alone, and talk to someone if you need to. Don't ever let your pride, get in the way of anything that you're doing. Pride, we have an acronym for the primary reason I'll die early. Pride. If you go by that acronym, you will know what it means. Once you get into those tough situations where you feel like, no, I can't do this. I am me. I am this. I'm this strong person. I can't ask anybody for help. I can't do this for nobody. I can't take a handout. No, it's not like that. You don't want to ever let your pride get in the way, and and take your patience. It's truly, you have to get in the mindset of having the village concept. You have good people around you that are willing to help you, and when you get right, you also help those people, and you never forget about them, because that'll be the biggest part. You always have to give back, for the people that did for you, because it's only right.
You want to give a shout out to New Era?
Yeah.
Like, give all the clubs out and everything.
Yeah. All right, shout out to New Era Prep, shout out to Keith, shout out to Nike, my boys. I love y'all, man. Shout out to Zay, my best friend, my brother. He always been there for me, everything I've been through, ever since, everything with my mom, since 9th grade. He was acting a fool. I love him to death, and I do. And shout out my sister, my dad, grandma, everybody that helped me get here today. Shout out to Shaheem, for coming and covering me. And I really appreciate it, because, some people need to hear the story, because a lot of people, they think they're going through it alone. And I just, wanted to get it out there and let them know that, hey, you're not in this alone. You won't ever be in this alone. And don't ever think that way. Life too short, man. Enjoy it.
Where can we follow you, though?
You can follow New Era Prep at Era Prep on Twitter, or if you're on Instagram, at New Era Prep. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at K_Stephens, Stephens, STEPHENS, and JR. So K_Stephens Jr. On Facebook is Ken Stephens Jr. And on Instagram it's the same as the Twitter, K_Stephens Jr.